Hi everybody, this is Dylan and I want to give you a tour of my off-grid urban solar power system. So here we go. First I'll turn you around and show you the main components. The first one is the solar panel, which sits outside the window, and then I have a battery here. I hope you can see that alright. And then I have a power inverter. So basically the energy comes into the solar panel, is stored in the battery if you need to store the energy, and then if you want to convert it to stuff that you can just plug in. So for example, here in Denmark, 220 volts, turn on the power inverter here, and then I just have a power cord that runs over here, and then it goes into this, and then I usually just unplug this and plug my TV in there. The panel puts out about maximum 80 watts, and during a normal day I can charge about 20 amp hours in the battery, and that means that I can watch television for a couple of hours every evening. And I've calculated that is maybe 15% of my energy usage is being supplied by this one solar panel. So one option would be to add 3 more panels this size, and that would cover about half of my electricity needs. But I think the proper way to do it, and the thing that I would recommend if you're interested in solar, is to do a real system. So having very large panels on the roof. One of the advantages is that it's 100% renewable energy. So here in Denmark we have maybe 50% renewable energy and 50% non-renewable. So anything that I power off this solar panel that I know is 100% renewable, and that's pretty cool. It also helped me learn a lot about solar power. I never played with these kind of systems before, and they're actually pretty great. It's pretty amazing to see sunlight come in and energy come out. And it's also kind of a redundant system, so if there's a power outage for some reason, you can always switch to your battery backup. So that's pretty handy. I think this system is pretty safe. It uses a SLA battery, which is a sealed lead acid battery, and that means that even if it's punctured, it won't leak acid or anything like that. It also is very immune to catching on fire. So like lithium polymer batteries, like are in laptops and Tesla batteries and Tesla Powerwalls, those are lithium polymer batteries, and if they're overcharged or if they're punctured, then they catch on fire. Whereas this battery is yes, much more robust. That being said, it's only 12-volt battery, so the voltage is pretty low. However, if you can pull a lot of amps out of this battery, so that means if you touch the positive and the negative, you can produce a massive amount of amps. If you were to, for example, put a wrench across the terminals of this battery, it would create a huge amount of energy. So, and yeah, it might actually weld the pieces of metal together. So, yeah, there are some safety issues. So you just need to make sure that you protect the terminals of the battery. Probably not. If you will, it will take a long time because the components, especially if you bought them new, would be quite expensive, and it depends on the cost of energy where you're living. But yeah, it probably takes some years. I haven't calculated, but it would probably take some years to pay it back. So I would do it for environmental reasons, but not for financial reasons. That really depends. It depends a lot on where you get the components. So the components that I got, I bought the solar panel used off of, kind of like Danish eBay, and that means that they had been in use for a couple of years, and that means that they've probably paid off the CO2 that was created when they were produced, when they were manufactured. So you need to remember, anytime you buy something, a solar panel or a battery or an inverter, there was a lot of CO2 created in order to build that component and ship it from wherever it was produced. And so initially you're actually going to be in a CO2 deficit, so you need to make sure that you use the solar panel for, in many cases, several years in order to pay back that CO2. So I don't know what it is for this system, but I've read that for large-scale systems it takes a couple of years to pay back the CO2. And for very small systems, like a system that's just used to charge your iPhone, that one may never pay back the CO2 because it's not producing enough energy to offset the CO2 offset. So keep that in mind. I think this system, the solar panel that I bought was a couple of years old. So maybe it's starting to be CO2 neutral right now as we speak. yeah, the components that I got were all either used or were about to be disposed of. So the solar panel I bought used. The battery my friend saved from the recycling center, and also the inverter. He found a working power inverter and saved it from the recycling center. So those components were basically saved from the landfill, and they still work quite well. So yeah. So my recommendation would be to buy used components if you can, because otherwise you're going to probably end up with a CO2 negative system for a long time. Thanks for watching.